Hi everybody, in this video I'm going to show you how to make these Tunisian crocheted booties. And these Tunisian crochet booties look like they've been knitted because they use the knit stitch. But this is in fact crochet, so what we're going to be needing is I'm going to be using some DK light worsted weight yarn, and you might see you're going to need a lot more than this, not a huge amount. You can probably just need one ball, but this is all I've got left because it's kind of long story short. I have actually videoed all this video before, but some of you may know via Facebook that I lost some files because my hard drive on my laptop, where basically I do everything, completely died on me a few days ago. So, and the hard drive has become completely corrupted. I've got a video of my drama coming soon, so I've got a new hard drive now, but I have got pretty much 99% backed up, but I did lose the first part to this video, so I have actually already used this yarn. But you're going to be needing some DK light worsted weight yarn, and I chose a nice pink. And we're going to be using a Tunisian crochet hook. Now, a Tunisian crochet hook is very similar to a knitting needle, but it's actually got a crochet hook at the ends. It's basically just a very long crochet hook. There's also another type you can get which looks just like a normal crochet hook, but it has a plastic tubing that you can bend on the end. But either one would suffice, and we need a 4mm one. And also I chose to add some button to the side. That's entirely optional. And then it's just, we need some scissors, and it's always good to have a yarn needle, big yarn needle, tapestry needle. Okay, so let's begin. Okay, so the first thing we're going to do is we're going to take our DK, a light worsted weight yarn. We're going to take our Tunisian crochet hook. Now you can actually do the first couple of rows with a normal crochet hook, as long as it's 4mm, and then use your Tunisian hook when we start doing the Tunisian part. But I'm a bit lazy, I'm going to be using just the same one throughout. So what we're going to do first, now with Tunisian crochet, it's good to basically think flat. So normally in when I design booties, I tend to work in the round, or in either going that way, or I start with the sole going that way and then build up from that, working in the round. But with Tunisian crochet, you kind of have to think like a knitter, so you have to think flat. So we're going to be working our booties flat. So the first thing to do is we're going to chain 19. Now these booties fit up to about 0 to 3 months, so it's a nice newborn size. We're going to chain 19 just as normal. So 1, 2, 18 and 19. And then what we're going to do is we're going to work 2 single crochet in our second stitch from hook. Now our second stitch, we don't count the loop on our hook. There's our first stitch and there's our second. So in our second stitch we're going to work 2 single crochet. That's 1 and 2. Like so. Then we're going to do 1 single crochet in the next 7. So go into the next stitch and do a single crochet. That's in the next 7, so that's 1. Another one in the next stitch, 2, and another one in the next stitch. And I'm just catching that top bit of yarn like so, bringing it through. Yarn over, pull through. That's 3, 4, 5, 6 and 7. Then we're going to do 2 single crochet in the next 2 stitches. So in the next stitch we're going to do 2 single crochet. So we do 1 to begin, and then another one in the same stitch. So you've got 2 for an increase. So you've got 2 in the same stitch. I'm going to do that again in the next stitch, so 2 single crochet in the next stitch. So there's 1, and then another one in the same stitch. Like so. So you've done 2 single crochet in the next 2. Then we're going to do 1 single crochet in the next 7 again. So that's 1. Sorry about the background noise. 2. 3. 4. 5. 6. And 7. And then that should leave you with 1 chain left. There's 1 stitch left. So you pull that tight to the end, you should see the last one there. And in that last one we just do 2 single crochet again. So go into that last one. Okay, do 1 single crochet and another one in the same stitch. So you've got 2 single crochet. And by the end of that row you should have 22 stitches. It should look something like that. And you'll also know that it will want to sort of bend round, curve round a bit. So you can see where normally I like to work in the round doing booties, we're kind of just not joining it that in and working it straight. Then at the very end we're going to, well, you'll see at the end, we'll all fold it up in a perfect way and sew it up and you'll end up with a booty. So moving on to the next row, what we're actually going to do is we're going to chain 1. We're not going to count that as a stitch, so just ignore that stitch. Then we're going to turn, and in that very, very first stitch there, we're going to work 1 single crochet. And then we're going to work 1 single crochet in just each stitch along to the end. So you've still got a stitch count of 22. So just 1 single crochet into each stitch along. Okay, so we're just coming up to the end. So it's 20. And it might seem that that's the last stitch there, but if you've counted as you've crocheted along, that's actually 21. And 22 is actually sort of almost on the end, just on the corner. So you've got to make sure you catch that last little stitch hiding on the corner. Make sure you just catch both bits of yarn and we'll finish our single crochet. So make sure you've still got 22 stitches, not including that chain 1 at the beginning. There we go. Okay, so then we're going to chain 1, and again ignore that stitch, and we're going to turn our work, so we're going back in the opposite direction. Okay, now this is where we're going to start to do some Tunisian crochet. And to do Tunisian crochet, we're going to start off exactly the same as normal crochet. So we're going to go into that first stitch there and bring our yarn through. So we've got 2 loops, but we're not going to do anything else after that. We're just going to stop, and then we're going to go into the next stitch and grab the yarn and bring it through. So we've got 3 loops. Then we're going to go into the next stitch and grab the yarn. I'm just going to repeat this all the way across, just going into each stitch and bringing up the yarn onto our hook. So it almost becomes like knitting. This is why you need the long crochet hook, like a knitting needle. And this is why we have to work flat. Because as you can see, if we'd worked in the round like that, we wouldn't be able to, because that would be joined together, we wouldn't be able to move around to get all our stitches, so we have to work flat and then sew it up at the end. So I have to think like a knitter, to think slightly differently. You can just move them down as you go across and keep them quite loose. You don't want them too tight. It's just relax as you do it. Just bring it through and then just make sure it moves freely. The great thing is that because it's a hook, we don't lose stitches as easy off the end like we do in knitting. Well, I do anyway. Knitting is not my forte. I'll leave that to Deborah. So there we go. So when you've gone through every stitch and brought the yarn through each stitch, so they're all sat on your crochet hook, we're then going to go back and technically just do some crochet. But the very first one, we need to just do a chain one. So we just go for that first loop like that. And then for all the other ones, we go through 2 loops. So we yarn over and then we just pull it through 2 loops and then come back up again. So yarn over, then pull through 2 loops again. We do that all the way across, going through 2 loops. So it's only at the very beginning do we go through 1 loop, and then we're going to go through 2 loops each time. So yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2. Seems to be a theme in crochet, pulling through 2, I've noticed. Probably some science behind that. So yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2, and we just keep doing this all the way back to the beginning until we end up with 1 loop on our hook again. And that completes our first 2 rows, as it were, of Tunisian crochet. But to get the knit stitch, we need to do something a little bit different on the next row. So there we are, almost back to the beginning. Pull through 2, and then we end up with 2 left, and we just pull through the last 2 till we've got 1 loop, and then we stop and we're back at the beginning. So it should look a little like that. You should have like these little vertical bars on your work now. And what we're going to do is we're going to go through each stitch again and pull through, but we're going to do it a bit different this time. Now at the very beginning here you have, I'll move my hook out of the way, you have a bar, a vertical bar there as well, but we ignore that first one. We don't do anything with that first one. So this second bar, this one here, we're just going to tuck our hook underneath that bar. But because we want to do the knit stitch, it's slightly different. We then need to put our hook to the back, and as you can see in between the bars there's a hole, so we're going to put our hook through that hole so it comes out the back. Then we're going to bring our yarn through the hole and then under that bar and up, and then we're going to stop, and there we go. That's our first beginnings of our knit stitch. So let's do that again. So then we go on to the next bar. So I always put the hook under the bar first, then there's that hole there you can see behind, so I put my hook through that hole, bring the yarn through the hole and then under the bar, and then we've got our next loop. I'm just going to repeat that all the way across, going under the bar, find that hole, out the back, bring the yarn through the hole, under the bar. So the yarn loop needs to be to the right of the bar. And there's our next one. So you go under the bar, to the back, bring it through the hole, and then under that bar to the right of the bar. Our next one. Okay, so I'm just going to repeat that all the way across, under the bar, through the hole, and up. Okay. So you go under the bar. It's always important to go under the bar first because you want to make sure you go through the right hole at the back. You don't want to end up going through the wrong hole. So I find go under the bar first, and then see that little hole there, seam the bar you're working in the next bar, bring it through the hole. Hang on, I think I've done this a bit wrong. It's under the bar. There we go. So we go under the bar, find the hole, bring it through the hole, and under the bar. So just repeat that all the way across. Oops, my yarn's fallen off the table. Until we get to the end again. So under the bar first, and through that hole at the back. Okay, under the bar first, and then through that hole at the back. And then through the hole to the right of the bar. Okay, so we're just coming up to the last few bars, and this is our second to last one, so go under the bar to the back, and there should only be one hole left now. Bring that through the hole and onto the bar to the right. And the very last one, there's the last bar, we just literally just go underneath it, and we don't go for any holes because there aren't any holes, so we just grab the yarn and just bring it up behind that bar, like so. And you should still have 22 stitches, but I don't count. I don't know if some people do, but I never count the first loop. I just ignore that first loop all the time whenever counting your stitches. So you should still have 22. 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16, 18, 20, 22. So you should still, so take away that first, ignore that first loop, and your stitch count should always match there. So 22, we had 22 stitches we're working with. So then we do the same again when working backwards. We go on the very first stitch, we just go under that first loop, just one loop to begin, but then all the other ones we do 2 loops. So 1 and 2, under 2 loops, under 2 loops. So it's just the same as we did before when working back. And I know that knitting uses less yarn than crochet, so I'm curious to know whether Tunisian crochet uses less yarn than normal crochet. I think it does, because technically all you're doing here is just putting a straight line of yarn all the way across. 2, 3, 2, 3, 2, pull through 2. Just keep pulling through 2 till you get back to the very beginning and you've just got one loop on your hook again. Pull through 2, pull through 2, pull through 2, until we've got one loop left on our hook. And there we go. Okay, so what we're going to do now is we're just going to repeat that over and over and over again, doing our knit stitches across and then coming back. I'm going to do that for 20 rows in total. So for our next row, we've done 4 rows already. We've gone over and back, and we've done a knit stitch over and back. So we've done 4 rows already. So for our next row, again we start off the same way. That first bar there we ignore, and then going to that second bar we just put our hook underneath, and doing exactly the same again. We find that hole in between the bar we're working with and the next bar and put our hook out the back. So just put that hook through that hole, bring the yarn through the hole and then under the bar to the right of it, and bring up our loop. And just repeat that all the way across again, going underneath, find that hole, bring it through under the bar to the right of the bar and bring it up, under the bar to the back, bring it through the hole, under the bar to the right. Just repeat that all the way across. Okay, so just coming up to the end, the last hole, and obviously you get to that very last bar on the end, which is now there. So all you do is you put your hook under that bar, then we just grab the yarn straight away and bring it up because there's no hole to work through. Okay, so there's our next row. And then again, coming the way back, remembering the very, very first stitch, we only come through just one, and all the others are 2. So it's very important to remember to do that first little chain one, as it were, at the beginning, just through one loop, pulling through one loop. Then it's pull through 2 for all the others. And that completes our next 2 rows, like so. Okay, so that completes our next 2 rows, and then we just need to do another 18 now. So it was 20 before, but we've done 2, so now we need to do another 18 rows of doing our knit stitches over, going under the bar, and remembering not to do it for that first one. So we start on that bar there, that second one there. Go under the bar, find the hole in between the bar you're working with and the next bar there. Bring the yarn from the back, through the hole, and then to the right of the bar and up. Do it all the way across, and obviously the end one we just go under the bar and grab the yarn, and then going back we just pull through 1, then we pull through 2 for the others. Okay, so you want to do that for 18 more rows. Okay, so I'm going to do that, and then I shall come back and show you the next stage. Okay, so starting with the next row, ignoring that first bar there, finding that second one, under the second bar, find the hole, bring it up to the right, and just continue across. Just thought I would actually add a little hint as well. If you forget how many rows you've done, an easy way to count is the very, very first knit stitch there. It's going to be created in 3 rows, and then every subsequent knit stitch there, see the little V, upside down V, is going to be made with 2 rows. So the very first upside down V made in knitting is made with 3 rows, then every subsequent upside down V knit stitch is made in 2 rows. So you can know from here that I've done 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 rows. So I've done 7 rows and I'm working on my 8th row now. Okay, so I hope that helps with your stitch counting of rows a bit. Good luck. Okay, so I'm just coming up to the last loop through 2. Excellent, there we go. So you should end up on a row where you've just got the 1 loop. So what I've done is I've done another 18 rows. So in total we've done 24 rows of the Tunisian crochet. So from there all the way up to there, all this Tunisian knit stitch. That's 1 row, 2 row, 3 rows, 4 rows. We should have done 24. And then plus the 2 rows we did at the beginning, not including our chains, that equals 26 rows. So like I said before, if you count the first, to make sure you've got the right amount, the first upside down V knit stitch counts as 3 rows, and then every subsequent upside down V is 2 rows. So 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, and half one, 24. Okay, so what we're going to do now is I'm going to work on this part here so we get the extra angle, and to do that we are going to do, let's get my notes. Right, so we're going to do 1 single crochet, sort of Tunisian way of doing it, in the next 3. So to do that, what we're going to do is, again, ignoring that first vertical bar, I'm going to go under the next bar, just like before, and out the back and bring the yarn through like that. But this time we're going to yarn over and pull through to do a single crochet. Okay, we're going to do that 3 times, so that's the first one. So we're going to go onto the next bar and out for the hole at the back, just like before. Bring the yarn through to the right of the bar and then yarn over to do a single crochet, like so. And again, just one more under the next bar for the hole of the back. Bring the yarn through to the right side of the bar and yarn over to do a single crochet. Okay, so we've done 1 single crochet in the next 3, done in the knit stitch, Tunisian knit stitch style. Then we're going to do 1 half double crochet in the next 5 in the same way. So what we're going to do, we're going to do yarn over, then we're going to go under that next bar and out the back again, just like before, and bring the yarn through to the right side of the bar. And then yarn over, pull through all 3 to do a half double crochet, like so. And we're going to do that 5 times, so that's the first one. So we yarn over again, go onto the next bar for the whole of the back, bring the yarn through to the right side of the bar, so you've got 3 loops, and just do a half double crochet as normal. Okay, so we're going to do another 3 to the next bar, out the back, then do a half double crochet, 2 more to the next bar, bring it through and do a half double crochet, and then 1 more, yarn over onto the next bar, out the back to the front, like so. Okay, so it looks a little bit like that. Then we're going to do 1 single crochet in the next 3, done in the same Tunisian way. So I'm going to go onto the next bar, so we don't yarn over, onto the next bar and out the back, bring the yarn through and do a single crochet, and then 2 more under the next bar, out the back, bring it through, single crochet, and the last one under the bar, through that hole, bring it back to the front, to the right side of the bar, and a single crochet. Okay, so there's our what it looks like at the moment. It's gradually going to create this sort of added shape only to half of our sock, so we're not going to carry on, we're just going to stop there and we're going to chain 1. My hand's all gone funny. I'm going to chain 1 and don't count that as a stitch, just ignore it as a stitch. Then we're going to turn and we're going to work, now we're just working in normal stitches, we're back to normal crochet. So we're going to do 1 single crochet in the next 3, so going straight into that first stitch, do a single crochet, and then we do a single crochet in the next 2 rather, sorry, 1, 2, 3, so just 1 single crochet, in the next 1, 2, 3, then we're going to do 1 half double crochet in the next 5, so half double crochet in the next 1, and if you find it easier you can actually swap to a normal crochet hook as long as it's the same size, 4mm, if you find it a bit difficult to work with the long ones. 3, 4, and 5. There we go. And then we're going to do 1 single crochet in the last 3. So 1 single crochet in the next one, 1 single crochet in the next one, and then 1 single crochet in that last one. Okay, let's bring that through. Okay, so there's the second row. As you can see, it's just only on this half. So going on to the next row for the sole, the heel, yeah, the heel. I've written sole down for some reason. We're going to chain 1 again, And again, ignore that as a stitch. Then we're going to turn, I'm going to work straight into that first stitch, and we're going to do 1 single crochet in the next 3 again. So that's 1, 2, and 3. Then we're going to do the same thing again. We'll do 1 half double crochet in the next 5. So your stitch count should be 11, working in these little mini rows. There we go. 1, 2, 3. It's gonna be funny. There we go. 3. 4 and 5. I think it's a bit interesting in the last 3 because we are going to do 1 single crochet in the last 3, but the very last one is going to be a bit different. So do 1 single crochet in the next stitch as normal. Then we're going to do 1 single crochet in the next stitch as normal. But instead of doing, we're going to do 1 single crochet in the next stitch, but instead of doing it in that stitch there, in the same way, we're actually going to do it in the previous stitch. So rather than doing it in that bit there, you can't actually see, it's not very open. Let's open that up so you can see. So normally we would do it in there on the same line. We're actually going to go to the previous row and do our single crochet in there. It just creates a smoother curve. And then we just need to go back in the opposite direction. So we're going to do the same thing again. We're going to chain 1, again ignoring that as a stitch. Turn your work, then we're going to do 1 single crochet in the next stitch, the very first stitch rather, and in the next stitch a single crochet, and just the same as before, in the next stitch a single crochet. So 1 single crochet in the next 3, 1, 2, 3. Then we're going to do 1 half double crochet in the next 5 again. It's just the same as before. So that's 1. 2, 3, 4 and 5. Okay, then we're going to do, got 3 stitches left, so we're going to do 1 single crochet in the next stitch as normal, 1 single crochet in the next stitch as normal. But again, on the last one, instead of doing it in the stitch there, if you can see the little dot there, we're going to find the previous row. So rather than it going in there as normal, it's going to go in the previous row. I'm just going to do single crochet. Again, that just makes it more curved at the end. Okay, so it should look a little something like this, and this creates the heel part there. So the next part is we just go back to our Tunisian crochet. So what we're going to do is we'll do a chain 1 and turn, and again ignore that as a stitch, and all we do is we need to loop up. So we're going to go into that very first stitch and grab the yarn and bring it through, and then stop there so we get our loop on our hook. And again we do that for the next stitch, and for the next stitch, and go into the next stitch, just grab the yarn, just keep doing this all the way across. I'll show you what to do when we get to the end of the heel. Oops. So if you remember, we've got a stitch count of 11 for our heel, but a total row stitch count of 22. Okay, so like I said before, we don't count, well I'm not counting, I don't know if normally you count it, but don't count that, ignore that first loop on your hook. We do our stitch counts from the next one on. So we've got our 2, 4, 6, 8, 10 and 11. And what we need to do is then we need to come back down to find that next bar. Remember we went this way and we stopped here, we stopped after that bar there because we pull up the loop just to the right of the bar, so that was our last bar. Then we started turning in the opposite direction and doing the heel. So going back to this row, we find the next bar and then we go, keeping it as tight as you can, find that next bar and go under to the back and bring it up to the right of the bar and pulling quite tightly like that, and then go into the next bar to the back, bring it to the right of the bar, keep the loop on our hook, and just do the normal Tunisian knit stitch I showed you before, going to the back just to all the way to the end, through the back and to the right of the bar, then onto the next bar, to the back, to the right of the bar, onto the next bar, to the back, grab the yarn to the right of the bar. So when we get to the end, our stitch count, not including that first loop, should be 22. And if it's not, you're going to have to find out where you went wrong. And then the end one, we just grab the yarn. Okay, so it should look a little something like that, and you should have like this extra nubbin, lumpy bit here. So if we count our stitch count, so we ignore that first loop, then count 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16, 18, 20, 22. So you should still have a stitch count of 22. It should have 23 loops in total if you include that first one. But I always ignore that first one because it just makes things more confusing. And then it's just a case of doing exactly the same as what we did before. So we yarn over and bring it just for that first loop to begin, and then that's right, we just pull through 2, pull through 2, all the way back to the beginning. So we get one loop left on our hook. So get some more yarn, running out of yarn. It ends up being a different colour, it means I've run out of yarn. Pull through 2, 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 and then trying to keep it tight where we're joining the heel. Pull through 2, 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 la la la, la la la. There we go. Back to the beginning. So it should look, if I lay this down, it should look a little something like this. And this part here, this side, is going to be the front. So there we go. And then if we roll it over, you should see that includes the heel parts. Hopefully you're starting to visualise. Okay. Okay, so all we're going to do now is we're just going to repeat the exact same as what we've been doing for the length here for our knit stitches. We need to do another 24 rows. So that's going this way, that way, this way, that way. Carrying on doing the same knit stitch Tunisian for another 24 rows. So all we do now is ignore that first vertical bar and go on to our next vertical bar, find that hole to the back between the bar you're working with and the next bar, bring it up just to the right of the bar and then stop there. Always for this urge to single crochet, but I must not. And then we go into the next, under the next bar, to the back, bring it through. So again we're doing our knit stitches across. Okay, so we're going to do another 24 rows of doing our Tunisian knit stitch across like this, and then pulling through 1, then pulling through 2, all the way back to the beginning for our next row. Okay, so I'm going to do that, and I shall come back and show you. Okay. To get here, it's got to be careful to find those bars. So there's, it looks like that's the next obvious bar, but there is a bar just there. And it's quite a big hole because there's a bit of a gap. We can always sew these little gaps up at the end. There we go. And then onto the next bar. Oops, down there. To the right. And just carry on to the end. And you can always make sure you've got 22 stitches when you get to the end of your knit stitch row. So I'm going to do that, and then I'm going to come back. So 24 more rows of just working your knit stitch and then pulling through. Okay, so I'm just coming up to the last row. We should have done another 24 rows. So here, let's just pull that up. So it should look a little something like that. And if we count the actual little upside down V's, as I call them, we should have 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12 and a half. Okay, and as you can see, it's all went a bit wrong there, so just must have caught the wrong bit of yarn. Anyway, I shall leave this for the sake of the video. Okay, so what we're going to do now is cut your yarn, but I don't have much yarn left, so I don't need to cut it. But we're going to cut our yarn, and I'm just going to bring it through like so. And all that's left to do now is, so it should look like that. And what we need to do is, this is our right side, and this is going to be our wrong side. So we're making sure that the right side is on the inside. We're going to fold our sock in half, and this is going to be the opening at the top. What we need to do is we need to sew, using our remaining yarn, we need to sew all the way down there and all the way across there. Okay, so we need to get our yarn needle or tapestry needle. I'm just going to use my remaining yarn to just sew it closed. And I'm just going to go from one side to the other, so let's find that corner. And then come over to the other side. I'm just going to grab a bit the other side and come through the next stitch. And a little bit more, and then the next stitch. Just continue sewing like this all the way down there, then all the way across the end as well. Okay. Of course, when you get to the ankle part, you've got excess material this side compared to this side. So what you need to do is, when you get to about the ankle, is make sure that this end lines up neatly there, and flatten that along there until that pops out a little bit. Then all we need to do is, if we hold that there, pinch that there, so we know that's going to be equally the side down there, we just need to sew this in a way that we bunch it up, because we've obviously got less this side compared to this side. So we're going to go in that side and just over to the heel part, just bunching, keeping it squished as we go. So again, just making sure that it lines up, flatten it up like so. And then when you're past the heel, you can just, you've now made sure that these two edges line up, so you can just sew normally again. And then when you get to the end, all we do is we just work around the corner. My table's going creaky again. And then we sew along the toes as well. Okay, so when you get to the very end, we can just do the old stitch just to make sure it's secure, and then just trim down your tail ends if you want to. If you've got more time than I have, you can do this a lot neater. And all what's left to do then is turn him inside out. Turn our little sock inside out. And there we go. And there's our finished... Oh, that's so annoying. Hopefully you'll do a bit of a neater job than me. Okay, and then if you want to, you can add a little button on the side, like my other one. So we could just take a little bit of the same yarn. I've got some really extra chunky buttons here. So a yarn needle actually goes through the holes, which is quite good. Just do a couple of stitches for an example. You don't have to add buttons if you don't want to. There's no practical reason to add one. Just for purely just for decoration. Of course, you can make these in blue or any colour that you like. So there we go. Just hide those tail ends on the inside for now, just so you can see. So there we go. And there's our finished bootie. Okay, so just bring in the other one, and there we go. There's our 2 pairs of little booties. And also I have designed a hat to go with them as well. This is got normal crochet at the top and then the knit stitch for the length. So, and this will be a pattern which will be available for my patrons, which will be on my Patreon stream. I'll put links in descriptions where that is, and also my forthcoming Happy Berry Crochet tea rooms. So yeah, but I hope you enjoyed that tutorial. And I think that's about it. Something a little bit different, but I just love the fact that you can create a knitting effect through crocheting. So there we go. I hope you enjoyed that tutorial. I hope you managed to follow along. And I will see you soon for some more crochet fun. Thanks for watching, guys. Bye!